where you said the UK, regardless of the position we may be in now or commentary, has been an international exemplar in preparedness. So the fact there is a pandemic influenza stockpile is considered a very high quality mark of a prepared country in international terms. Now, I think we've just established that by the 19th of April, whatever you did or didn't know a month earlier, you knew that there were continuing problems with PPE, did you not?
Yes.
You said that you'd apologised by then for your earlier statement.
Yes, that's true.
But yet you still referred in the context of your assertion that Britain was
so
or had been an international... No, why don't you just let me ask the question first, and you can answer it. In the context of your assertion that the UK had been an international exemplar in preparedness, you referred to a pandemic influenza stockpile.
Yes.
Why did you do that if you knew about all the difficulties there were?
So the point I was trying to make here is that having a pandemic influenza stockpile of any sort whatsoever, which undoubtedly the country did, was considered not by me, this is an external objective assessment, to have been a very high quality mark of a prepared country. And that assessment, I mean, clearly the world will be reforming how it manages and assesses how good it is. But that assessment came in two ways. One was from Johns Hopkins School of Public Health Global Health Security Index. The UK came number 2, scored 77.9 out of 100. New Zealand came 54. So I think, there's some really interesting insight there to be learned. And then the second one was that the UK had put itself forward to be assessed by a joint external evaluation under the IHI International Health Regulations 2005. And in fact was used as an exemplar by the WHO for training others. So I recognise that in retrospect, this is, it feels wrong almost when we look back now and see. But those were not my assessments at all. They were objective external assessments. So they're clearly areas which, we all need to look at globally, I think. And in fact, WHO is.
Professor, they were external assessments that had been made before the pandemic?
Yes.
The pandemic, which by the time you made these comments in April had been ongoing for several months. Yes?
Yes.
And the experience of the pandemic by April had demonstrated just how far wide of the mark those external assessments had been, had they not?
So I agree that in retrospect this doesn't look at all encompassing with that, but that was what we had been graded as a country.
Well, that may have been true as a matter of fact, Professor, but we started this conversation with your recent interview emphasising the importance of an honest and straightforward approach in communicating with the public during an emergency. So was it an honest or straightforward thing to do to refer to earlier assessments of pandemic preparedness when events of the previous weeks and months had demonstrated just how serious the problems were and how, frankly, erroneous those earlier assessments had been?
Could I perhaps just read out, I think, what that statement says? So it says the UK, regardless of the position we may be in now or commentary. So I think I am acknowledging the fact that we don't have a good position now, has been in the past an international exemplar based on external observations. And the reason for that in the past had been because we had a pandemic influenza stockpile, notwithstanding, regardless of the position we're in now. I don't see those as incompatible. We clearly were not in an exemplary position then, but I don't think that's what this statement says.
If in mid-April, well into the first lockdown, events had proved that the preparedness was so far short of what it had been understood to be, and in his evidence to the inquiry last week, Professor Whitty said that the pandemic influenza plans were, his words, woefully deficient. Why was it something you thought necessary to remind the public of in a number 10 press conference that this earlier grading had found the UK to be an international exemplar? It wasn't an international exemplar. Events had proved that by then.
So, I don't have the context of this, which is often quite difficult for me to make comments on statements which are provided to me and not with the rest of it. But I would perhaps just repeat that it says it acknowledges the poor position we're in now, regardless of the position we may now be in. I am flagging that historically it had. So I think I'm just saying there is a problem now, and previously we thought we've got it right.